often come across terms like social security, financial security, so on and so forth. However, I'm always surprised by the fact that even if we see more and more relationships are falling apart in and around us, nobody talks about relationship security.
So how do we tackle relationship issues? My guest tonight is Isabel Gallardo, a personal development trainer, a counselor, a relationship expert. I sat down with her to understand how to untangle the threads of many extremely delicate yet hard to escape relationship issues.
So you've been a counselor for a long time and you do focus on relationship issues and communication. My first question is, when couples walk up to you, what are the main issues they want to talk about and what's the main issues they usually face in their relationship?
Yeah, basically it's communication. Normally what happens is we start to feel insecure about our own issues, our own fears, and we don't dare to share that with our couple. And the awkwardness and the gap between the two people, it increases.
It keeps on growing, yeah.
And at some point they need someone like a third party to help with that. But basically my approach, the way I understand the work is you need to work individually for a while to understand the underlying issues, basically the wounds from childhood. And the moment we bring awareness about that and we start to come to terms with our past, we are more at ease with ourselves and the relationship improves.
And so that's how you start working on individuals and then on the couple, because it's always our issues that we bring about on the table when we are together with another person.
Exactly. So it makes no sense to try to fix things temporary,
Correct.
giving a couple of hints about communication or go and have a romantic date every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's just like a
The superficial
approach. So no, the reality is I need to go inside, to dig deeper in my wounds, and we have to go through trauma, and trauma is frozen in our unconscious mind, in our subconscious mind, and also science know that it's also in our cells. In our whole body. And I accompany people through trauma. I guide them into their subconscious mind, and they confront that terrible moment, and they fear and they are horrified about being there again. But when they bring awareness and their own presence to the picture, they overcome that. It's almost like they cross that episode, that event, and they heal.
That's what they say, you should always feel your pain to really overcome it.
Exactly. And we start to see our partner in a completely different light.
Oh, that's
because
amazing.
Until then we project our own things. We see our father, our mother, someone who bullied us at school. We don't see the real person.
What are the few things that couples can really do to build good communication between them?
For me, it's about active listening and empathy. So, and also presence, awareness. So when my partner is talking about something, instead of taking it personally, I create some space for this person to be. And I'm a witness of that. I'm neutral.
An exchange of thoughts.
Exactly. And then I can start to really listen. Until then, what I do is I interpret and I judged. And I somehow distort the message because emotionally it's charged for me. When they talk about their deep needs, normally we get lost in the specifics, in the small daily details. Our fights, they are about that. You said that, you did that again, you didn't. And when we dig deep and we understand the needs, it is easier to empathize with the person. So every time I'm telling you, don't control every step, what I'm asking you is, please believe in me and give me some room to be self-sufficient. If you're controlling me all the time, I have no space, no capacity to develop a universal need, which is independence, self-sufficiency. So instead of saying, you're always controlling me, you're a control freak, stop doing that. If you explain what is the meaning for you of that, it is easier.
It's easier for the other person also to understand.
To empathize and understand. Human beings are essentially good.
They're essentially good.
Yeah.
It's just the situation and circumstances make us behave in a certain way that is not so good.
Exactly.
In today's day and age, of course, we have so many aspects to a relationship, especially if we're living in a city that demands so much out of us, a city like this. What are these, when is the right time for couples to really start talking about each aspects? Because a lot of times it's living in denial. A lot of times couples think everything is just going fine till something really big happens and then they start talking about it. Before hitting that space, when is the right time that they should start communicating about every aspect?
Right now, the minute one, from the beginning we need to build trust and to be able to open up and share what is important for us in every single area. Parenting, money, sex, work, what are my priorities, what are my hopes, my needs. And I don't use the word compromise, but it's more like negotiate. We negotiate, we find a common ground.
Common ground.
Because being in a couple is about togetherness. So it's you, me, and this dynamic, this entity that we're creating together. And this entity is the sum of our fears, hopes, and we are building this togetherness every day. That's why every day we need to talk. I think that if we can use some time, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day, to talk, how are you? How do you feel? What do you need me to do? How can I contribute? And we can also, and that's important, we need to establish boundaries and to say when it's enough for us. Today I'm too tired. I can't cook dinner, or I can't read this fairy tale to my son
kids,
because I'm exhausted. And if I recognize that to myself, also I'm being caring and loving with myself. So sometimes we expect too much. And that frustration and that bitterness affects the relationship because we are under pressure and we want the other person to also contribute in the same way. And the moment we're honest with ourselves and we realize that we have limits, we have limited energy, limited sometimes understanding of things, acknowledging that we are confused, that we don't know how to do things in a certain moment. So it's about showing our vulnerability. In order to communicate honestly, we have to be vulnerable.
I think in a relationship, especially for the man, it's very difficult to be vulnerable because in many cultures they're taught not to be vulnerable. And for a woman, it becomes challenging to communicate because of the same reason. Maybe she's vulnerable, but she's not getting that reciprocated from the man. And from a man's perspective, maybe he's not understanding the vulnerability of the woman. How does one tackle that?
Sometimes there are exceptions, but women in general are more connected with their feelings and emotions, and men perceive that as a threat. because they are not so comfortable connecting with their own feelings. Women, they need also to develop the capacity of believing in themselves, trusting their gut feelings and their intuitions, because they've been receiving this message for a long time, like, you're too emotional, you're wrong, you're hormonal. And,
absolutely, yeah.
And that's a very confusing message. They stop to believe in themselves. And so I encourage women to follow their gut feelings and their intuitions. We have this inner voice, and it's very important. It's like a compass in our lives. It's constantly guiding us and telling us what is the right thing to do. So yeah, for women it's about trusting themselves, getting empowered again. And for men to get, they need to get empowered also, reconnecting with their feelings, because if not, they live in their heads. And the mind is useful for certain things, but didn't grasp the whole complexity of life. We need the heart also.
And the combination of heart and head sometimes when it's required. It's interesting that you spoke about so many aspects of relationships. I would like to ask you at the end, what are the few things that couples can do to better their relationship from now on?
First, communicating. So we need to have a specific time for that. It's not an abstract concept like we'll communicate one day. So finding a day in the week to do it, and listening the other person for 20 minutes, half an hour without interfering, making this space, and then doing the same with the other person. Another important fundamental thing is to have fun together. Yeah, so that creates a powerful bond. We get lost in the daily challenges, having to pay the mortgage or the rent and going to work, and we disconnect from the most important aspect, which is that we are alive here. We have this precious life, and we want to live our lives in a meaningful way. We have this connection with our purpose, and that brings us the strength and the support to continue in our journey. So to have like the big picture.
Thank you so much. I think it's wonderful, everything that you spoke about, and I feel as couples we should always look at the bigger picture and live in the moment and enjoy everything that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you.